So here's part 2 of the jumpers, the cards that popped out. And I didn't even notice this when they jumped because I really didn't pay attention to what they were. I was just going to read them. But the first one, if you remember from yesterday, was connections and about authentic relationships. Well, this one is spiritual freedom card. And on the bottom, it says authenticity. Okay, so this is definitely the theme. That's why they both jumped out together. I don't have another card that is highlighting authenticity. So I think somebody, or, like I always pray that collectively, whoever watches my videos, that I get the most important cards for who is going to be watching. So I know some people who are viewing this might be struggling with authenticity, disclosing information about yourself, and maybe just being afraid to be vulnerable with people. You don't need to put on a facade. The right people are going to love you for who you are, and the rest of them, it doesn't really matter, honestly. Not caring what other people think so much is the best freedom in the world. So this is what I wish for everybody, and this is called spiritual freedom. Speaking of freedom. Okay, so you drew this card because you have been suffering needlessly by attempting to control things that simply cannot be controlled. This card also indicates that there is false thinking and assumptions that you must release in order to experience spiritual freedom, which will lead you to complete freedom from addiction. Remember, this is from my deck, Addiction Recovery with the Law of Attraction. And you don't need to have an addiction for this to make sense to you. Addictions can be also just simply overthinking or caring too much what people think. That's an addiction. So there you go. Do you have a tendency to take things too personally? Maybe you internalize the words and actions of others, which have absolutely nothing to do with you. Possibly you get resentful when a loved one or a friend did not meet your expectations. Are you a people pleaser who needs to set healthy boundaries? Okay, so there's a lot going on there. So internalizing actions of others, being resentful when someone doesn't do what you expected them to do. And these might be things that they don't even know what you expect. Like you just kind of expect them to be a mind reader. And then the people pleasing, that's a huge one. A lot of us are guilty of. I used to be really guilty of that because I cared too much. I wanted people to like me. So I'm going to be too agreeable and do things I don't really want to do. And then resent that later, right? So that's a people pleaser. So you're not being yourself. You're not being authentic because you're just telling people what they want to hear and not what you really mean. So take 3 5-minute breaks throughout the day to check in with your feelings. Take some deep breaths and ask your inner being for guidance. Ask yourself which tendencies are holding you back from being your authentic self around others. When you do someone a favor, but you're secretly resentful of them for asking, you are not being authentic. Creating limits is an essential step to addiction recovery, and being a people pleaser is its own bad habit. It certainly is. It really affects a lot of areas in your life. If we do not set healthy boundaries, how will someone know when they are stepping out of bounds? What are you afraid will happen when you communicate honestly? It may be awkward at first, but healthy, open dialogue requires practice. Making assumptions and expecting others to be mind readers only leads to spiritual imprisonment. Make a small commitment today to focus on these interpersonal challenges so you can be free of resentment and unnecessary suffering. You must free yourself through authenticity. You will feel liberated and empowered once you are completely honest with yourself and with others. Okay, so guys, that was a theme. Authenticity. It's so important. Like, resentment is such a low vibration. If there are people like you're a yes person and you're doing things for them, you get all this expectations in your mind of how they're supposed to react, and they don't act that way. They don't act as appreciative as you want. Well, I'm not saying it's nice that you're doing these things for it is nice. It is nice for you to do people favors and stuff, but it's not okay to hold things over people's head. When you do something kind for somebody, just do it out of the kindness of your heart without the expectation of what are they going to do in return? What can I get from them? Or I need them to have a specific reaction for me to be happy, right? So that's actually a manipulative tactic on your part if you're doing that. If when you do things, they have to act a certain way in order to, pay you back. Almost dropped this whole thing. So anyway, that's the theme for the 2 cards that jumped out. I read one yesterday and finished it up today, all about being honest, being vulnerable, being yourself, and not caring too much about what other people think, and not being resentful. That's not hurting the other person at all. It's only hurting you. And have that open communication. Let's say someone did hurt your feelings. Your feelings are valid, but they're not mind readers. So you have to open up and tell them, like, hey, this really hurt my feelings and this is why. And do it in a kind way. You don't want the other person to feel attacked, because they're just going to get defensive and they're not even going to hear you, right? You're going to put them in defense mode. So I hope that resonated with some of you, and please comment below if you have anything you'd like to add. And if you know anyone who hears this message, I really appreciate if you share this video. Have a great day.